address the country on 2-3 issues for now. Number one relates to the ongoing protests or demonstrations by the young people, or popularly known as the Jjeema'S. As a party, it is our considered view that everybody should be given space to be listened to. The young people should be listened to, the traders should be listened to, the political parties should be listened to, and every Ugandan should be listened to. So we must ensure that everybody is accorded space to be listened to. And that as a party, we welcome any initiatives by any members or segments of society to engage and be listened to. So that we want to put on record. Secondly, on issues of corruption, both in Parliament and outside Parliament. It is our view as a party that Parliament and MPs are not special people and are not above the law. Therefore, if any member of Parliament commits an act of corruption, they should be investigated and prosecuted. And what that in effect means is that if there are any Ugandans out there that have evidence against MPs, either as individuals or collectively, that evidence should be availed and the culprits should be arrested and prosecuted. In other words, as a party, one, we have zero tolerance to corruption, but also we welcome any investigations against anybody and that those people should be prosecuted. And we want to challenge the prosecuting and investigating agencies to ensure that before arrests are made, they have sufficient evidence against individuals to curb the vice of remanding people for longer periods without beginning a trial. We disagree with the idea of people being on remand for 5 years, 7 years, 3 years, on the pretext that police is still investigating. Arrests should never be made on the basis of insufficient evidence. Otherwise, prosecution becomes persecution. And as I speak now, I know that there are many Ugandans who are languishing in prisons because police is still investigating. Now that is an abuse of the criminal justice system. So we want to challenge CID, we want to challenge DPP. DPP should not also sanction fines where there is insufficient evidence. Courts should not be issuing criminal summons to any individual unless there is sufficient evidence. So we really welcome what is happening in the country, and this should also give the wananchi confidence that Parliament is not above the law. The fact that now MPs are being arrested and being sent to jail is a demonstration that MPs are not above the law. So we encourage evidence to be brought against MPs and another sector in society for purposes of us ensuring that these matters are investigated to their logical conclusion. So my call is that the fight against corruption must be a concerted effort. You have the evidence against individuals, please avail the evidence. And I think the mechanisms of availing this evidence are well known to all of us Ugandans. So we want to ask that this fight here is a legitimate one, it's a welcome one, and I don't think anybody should have any problem. Even if tomorrow it is the Jjeema'S party president and MP for Giri municipality, if there is evidence against him, let him be tried. Let him be subjected to what we call the due process of the law on the basis of evidence. And the reason why I'm emphasizing evidence is to avoid baseless accusations, rumor mongering, and character assassination, which really sometimes undermines the integrity but also names of great individuals. So it's a call that we want to make to everybody in the country, that there is a protection of what we call whistleblowers. Protection of whistleblowers. There must be guarantee of safety. In fact, one of the ways in which we can effectively fight corruption is a guarantee of safety of whistleblowers. So whoever has information must be protected and must also be rewarded. You know, for example, in revenue, people who provide information that lead to avoidance of tax, theft, are rewarded. So one of the mechanisms we must put in place is to guarantee safety of whistleblowers, but also to reward whistleblowers. Once we don't create that guarantee, it will be a tall order. Number two, on the issue of compensation of people who have been in wetlands. In law, there is a principle called acquiescence. To acquiesce is to allow somebody to do something and you don't stop them. Eh? So you acquiesce to an act or an omission. What we are saying is that if settling in wetlands is wrong or irregular, then the government acquiesces to do the settlements. So now the issue is, if you did acquiesce to the settlement, things happened and you were there, the entire government infrastructure, for example, if these wetlands were centers of rebellion, would the government have acted? Definitely it would have acted. So this one shows you that the government deliberately abdicated its responsibility. And because there was deliberate abdication of responsibility, people took advantage. Some under the honest belief that what they were doing was right. And on that basis alone, there must be a ground for consideration for compensation. I'll give you an example. There are people who are being compensated for losses occasioned during war. When Mr. Museveni was fighting Mr. Hoti, people lost property, lost lives, lost families. People are being compensated. But Mr. Museveni at that time was fighting an illegal war. He was fighting a legitimate government. So people are being compensated for criminality. In brief, people are being compensated for criminality. So if people can be compensated for criminality, what about these ones? So I think as a country, we need to agree that this is a matter that must be discussed. But that does not take away our position as a party of preserving the environment. The environment must be preserved, the environment must be protected. But there are now two elements. We have to look in the future, from now onwards, to stop any further encroachment. Okay? Then, to deal with already encroached upon environment in a win-win situation. And there is something that NEMA is not telling Ugandans. It is not true that people cannot settle in wetlands. It is actually not true that people cannot work in wetlands or establish structures in wetlands. If you've seen, you have, for example, heard of what they call land reclamation in Dubai, in the Netherlands. It is just that we need to adopt technology that allows use of wetlands at the same time preserving their natural role. And that technology is there. So it is possible for people to settle in the wetlands, but at the same time maintaining the natural role of wetlands. The only challenge is that the technology that allows that is still very expensive. But it is possible. So it is actually not true that people cannot settle in wetlands. People can settle in wetlands, and the wetlands can retain their natural roles. So as a country, can we begin investing in that technology? And it is there, it is possible, although I am aware that it is very expensive. It is like these dams that are being constructed on rivers, falls. There is technology that allows a dam to be constructed on a river and at the same time retain the natural role of the river. But look at where we come from, those of us from Busoga. You no longer have Owen Falls. You no longer have even Bujagali Falls. Why? Because a dam was constructed and the natural role of the river flow was affected. But it was possible to maintain or preserve the two. So, this is a discussion that we should really be having as a country for the good of the people.